What's up, legends? So instead of doing the usual daily vlog, I'm going to do something a little different for today's video. So instead of getting bits and pieces throughout the day today, I just filmed a number of different sets while I was performing deadlifts, and I want to talk you through my setup on a deadlift, what I'm thinking about, my form, my mental and physical cues while I'm doing it, and then I'm going to insert some little clips in between me talking to show you what I'm talking about. So when it comes to deadlift, there's basically like three main ways that you can deadlift. So you've got your sumo deadlift, which is what I predominantly focus on. You have conventional deadlift where your feet are closer together, hands are on the outside of your legs. And then the other version is probably what I would recommend for most athletes, and that's a trap bar deadlift where you're actually inside the bar. So they're the three main versions. And when I talk about RDLs, so Romanian deadlifts, I don't really class that, well, it's obviously a deadlift, but I would call that an RDL because that's focusing on my hamstrings and glutes, and to me it's a completely different exercise than the deadlift from the ground. So I mainly focus on a sumo deadlift, and that's what I'm going to go through with you today. So with a sumo deadlift, your foot position is quite wide. So I'm going to show you a clip now of what my feet look like in position before I go to lift from the bar, using the little lines on the side of the barbell as an indicator of where your feet should be, and I'll show you how far they should be turned out. Alright, so now we have our foot position nailed. The next thing you want to focus on is your hand position. So you can basically hold the bar one of two ways. So the first is double overhand, and I usually use the smooth bit of the bar as an indicator of where I'm going to hold. I have my index finger on the smooth bit and the rest on the rough, and that's pretty much basically shoulder width apart. So when I'm standing up, I'll let my hands hang like this, so I have my arms just basically where they would naturally go, and then my elbows will rest on the inside of my knee when I actually come down into the deadlift position, and that's where I hold the bar. So you can either go both over or one under, and that's what I tend to do with anything that's basically over 100 kilos. Anything heavy, I hold one over, one under. For me, grip's just a lot easier. If you've got chalk, it's going to be a lot more beneficial as well. If you want to use straps, and that's another thing as well, I tend to not use straps because I want to build up my grip strength, so I don't need to rely on straps. In these clips today, I didn't even have chalk, and I may not even use clips all from today's deadlift session. I may use some from another session as well, just so I can explain what I'm talking about. So now you've got a foot position, hand position. Now the things that I like to think about before I go for my lift. So every now and then I'll kind of put my arms up in the air like this. I'll really lock in my shoulder blades, and then I'll basically just bring my arms straight down onto the bar. And what I'm doing there is locking my shoulder blades in place and getting my shoulder blades retracted and shoulder blades sitting down to where I want them when I lift the bar from the floor. So a big misconception about the deadlift is that you're actually, well, it's not a misconception, and it is partly true, that you're pulling the bar off the floor. And you are pulling the bar off the ground, you're pulling the weight from the ground. But in my head, every time I do a lift, I'm thinking about pushing the floor away. So with my feet are outside shoulder width, and all these cues still apply if you're doing a conventional deadlift or a trap bar deadlift. But once my feet are set, I lock my shoulder blades in place, so my arms are fully locked. Now, what you want to think about is long arms. So your arms are fully extended out, but your shoulder blades are retracted and tight. So you're not rounding through the upper back, and you shouldn't have a bend in your arms. I see a lot of people doing deadlifts, and at the top of the deadlift, they're holding like this. They're pulling up with their traps and with their biceps. That's not what you want to be doing. You want to lock those arms out as tight as possible, so then when you pull from the ground, all you're thinking about is your legs and not thinking about your arms. So now I'm locked in position. I'm going to show you what that looks like in this next clip. Okay, so in my head, before I pull from the floor, I'm going through a mini checklist. My feet are in position, my hands are in position. I'm keeping my chin tucked down, so I'm pretending I got a tennis ball between my chest and my chin. So you're not like tucking your chin right down, but you're also not looking right up. Because if I'm looking up as I'm down in that bottom position, then I'm going to get an extended curve through my lower back, and that's just going to put too much pressure on my lower back, and it's going to take away from the glutes as well. So chin tucked in, arms are locked, and now what I'm thinking about is tensing everything in my legs. So I'm tensing my quads and I'm tensing my glutes. Once I've done that, the next thing is to think about pushing the floor apart. So I'm thinking about trying to spread the floor with my feet. So I'm squeezing the glutes, squeezing the quads, trying to push the floor apart with my feet. My arms are already locked, and then from that position there, I'm pushing the floor apart and I'm pushing my hips forward. pushing the floor apart and hips forward. So just think about that for a second and think about what that would feel like. So arms are locked, either both over or one over, one under. My feet, I'm trying to push out, and that's helping to activate the glutes and put the pressure on the glutes and not through the lower back. My chin is tucked in. Now the upper body and hips have to move at the same time. So it's literally like you were in that same position with no weight and someone told you to stand up. You wouldn't round your back to stand up. You would just stand up, okay? So I'm pushing my knees out, hips forward, and upper body moves at the same time. And then when I finish, this is a big one as well. So when I finish, I want you to have a look at this clip and see where my hips finish when I get to the top of the rep. So as you can see in that clip, my pelvis is neutral. I'm not overextending and I'm also not still bent at the hips. I'm finishing with my glutes on, pelvis tucked back, belly button in towards the spine. So the top position is not like this. It's not like this. My legs are locked, my pelvis is tucked back. So if I was holding my shirt like this, you can see that my lower back is flat. The other thing I'm also not doing is leaning right back, okay? So a lot of people lean way too far back and you're overextending through the lower back and you're actually putting more pressure through your back than what you would be if you were leaning forward. Okay, so my finished position, glutes are on, pelvis is tucked under, eyes are facing straight forward. Now on the way down on a heavy deadlift, I do not try and control it to the floor. As you're about to see in this clip, I let the bar fall down to the floor relatively quickly. I pretty much don't even control it to the ground. Once it reaches the floor, I let it come to a complete dead stop. I don't bounce off the ground, I don't tap it off the ground. I reset, I go through my mental and physical checklist again, and then I repeat the same process for as many reps as I'm doing in that set. So that each and every rep is a rep on its own for that full set. And that's gonna prevent you from putting too much pressure through your lower back. It's gonna allow you to think about your form on every rep. It's also going to keep the tension on the areas that we want to keep the tension on, which is the glutes, hamstrings, and quads. And you're also going to get a lot of recruitment from your core and also your lower back. Don't be surprised or disappointed if you wake up the next day after a heavy deadlift session and you have a tight lower back. And when I say tight lower back, I mean through the QL, so like the side of your lower back. If you've got a sore spine, then you're doing something wrong. You're in strife. If you're tight through the lower back, that's normal. Your QL muscles should be relatively tight after a deadlift session. So I hope this video has helped in some way or another. Now I'm just going to play a clip of a full set so you can see what it all looks like together. Let me know if you've liked this different style of video. I didn't want it to get too repetitive, even though it may already have been repetitive on this vlog. But yeah, if you do like the video, give it a thumbs up, tag a friend in the post, and I'll talk to you guys in tomorrow's video.